Well, folks, are we getting into interesting times now? A dramatic market. We got stocks crashing all over the place in this market. Enphase stock got hammered 6% here today. It's down another 15% after hours. Tesla stock obviously got hammered here today. It's down more after hours. Those are going to be the two stocks we talk about at the top here in regards to, are these stocks buying opportunities with these ones getting hammered right now? Very popular retail stocks, both of these. Obviously, Tesla's a more popular one than Enphase, but a lot of retail traders are just getting absolutely wrecked, and retail investors in regards to Enphase. And so a lot of people want to know, are these stocks buying? I want to share my perspective. We're also going to talk about PayPal, which stock just hit $54 a share here today. We're going to talk about PayPal stock in this video. We're going to talk about Palantir. We're going to talk about many other stocks in this video. But at the top, we're going to focus on Tesla and Enphase specifically. So busy video. I appreciate everybody joining me as always. Thank you for being subscribed, folks. This is that time of year, folks. Dramatic market. You got crazy moves happening. The Enphase move, no one expected that today. I mean, you know, between that stock getting hammered in the market and then also in after hours, what broke as far as that news there, no one was expecting that. All of a sudden down 15% after hours. Crazy, absolute craziness, folks. So yeah, that's what happens in earnings season, folks. A lot of drama all over this place, okay? So in regards to Enphase, right? First off, this stock has been obliterated, right? I mean, the stock is down. This is before the after hours move, right? Which is another, we'll see where it trades out tomorrow, but Enphase could be down, 15+% tomorrow, okay? But Enphase going into the after hours was already down 52% this year. This stock has a 52-week high of 339 on it, right? And so if this was a stock you're like, I'm going to buy the dip, I'm going to buy the dip on Enphase. I mean, just for this past year, it has been absolutely brutal in regards to that, right? Now, you might say, okay, that's SolarEdge. Why the heck is Enphase getting hit so hard? Like, why does Enphase deserve to get hit just as much as SolarEdge or something, very similar? We'll put it like this, okay? So Las Vegas Sands reports earnings last night, right? Revenues are up 177% year over year. So, hey, guess what? Wynn's in a very similar business line. So I'm going to go out there and I'm going to say Wynn's earnings are probably going to be pretty freaking phenomenal as well, right? Because Macau's booming with growth again. So Wynn's earnings are probably going to be booming, right? So think about this for a moment. If you're talking about a company like SolarEdge is reporting a disaster in their business model and they're a very similar company, let's call it, right? Little differences here and there, but a very similar company to an Enphase, well, guess what? Likely, Enphase's business is also in disarray. Maybe it's not in disarray as bad, maybe it's worse, maybe it's in the equal amount of disarray, but the bottom line is that high probability Enphase is in complete disarray as well. And their margins are likely going to come in way lower than expected. Their revenues will likely come in way lower than expected. And guess what? Their profitability is not going to be anywhere likely close to what people are expecting. Okay? It's not a guarantee, but it's a high probability. Very high probability, okay? Now, from here, we got to talk about, is Enphase a buying opportunity? The stock could easily be trading at $90 tomorrow, $95, we'll see, okay? Is it a buying opportunity? Well, there's a few things I really like about Enphase. I got to be honest, okay? And I don't personally own the stock, and I used to be very against the stock when it traded at crazy valuations, but the crazy valuations have kind of gone away. But here's what's interesting. Hey, Enphase has about $1.8 billion of cash and short-term investments on their balance sheet. This was as of their last quarter they had reported, okay? We'll see where the updated numbers are. That compares to about $100 million of cash they had back in 2018, right? So obviously they've made a lot of money over the years and they stacked a lot of that money on the balance sheet, right? They have about $1.2 billion of long-term debt as of last quarter, so they could pay off all that debt tomorrow and still have, $600 million or so? On the balance sheet of cash and investments. That's pretty freaking impressive, okay? And look at their total liabilities, $2.4 billion. They have $1.8 billion just in cash and investments alone. That's insanely impressive. Insanely impressive, okay? So Enphase has a very good balance sheet. So that's something that I would call a very positive development in regards to Enphase. Now, here we get into a very important subject. Is Enphase really cheap? Because if you were to look at, this is like Seeking Alpha, for instance, which, by the way, if you ever want a free trial of Seeking Alpha, check out my description area. I always have like a link in there that they used back when I did a promo for them a few months ago. Gives you a free trial. So anyways, but in regards to Enphase, right, it looks like it's cheap now, right? 24 times this year's expected numbers. It's trading at 19 times next year's expected numbers, and this is based upon analyst estimates, and based upon 2025, 15 times, right? For what has, usually been a very strong growth company of enphase, that seems cheap. Well, here's the trick, okay? Here's the trick. It might not be cheap, okay? Look what just happened to SolarEdge's operating income. So what people thought SolarEdge was likely going to earn this year for net income is not going to be even remotely close to accurate. It's going to be a long ways off, okay? So you might have thought you were getting a good value by buying SolarEdge stock until you saw today's numbers and realized, oh my gosh, I was actually getting ripped off. The valuation was actually too high I was paying. So in regards to enphase, if they report a quarter in disarray, which is very much a possibility once again, then likely the stock's not trading at a 24 times this year's numbers. It could be trading at 40 times, 50 times, 80 times. We don't know right now, because we don't really know what's happening with these companies' margins, other than it looks like it's going to be a freaking disaster, and we don't really know what's happening with that bottom line, which means you can't even really value this company right now, because these stocks in this industry are in such incredible disarray right now, right? So think about that for a moment. So the bottom line is, in regards to this enphase situation, I can't say, if you're asking me, is enphase stock a buy tomorrow or not? I would say it actually, surprisingly enough, might not be a buy tomorrow, even though the stock's down so dramatically this year, and even though on paper it looks like it's trading cheap, it might actually not still be a buy in regards to enphase. You just got to understand you're taking a big risk, because we don't know. We don't have any clue what the real profitability is going to be for this company, okay? Now, this leads to a problem for the stock market. Very large problem, okay? Here's the deal. Stocks like Tesla and stocks like enphase are vibe setters for the entire stock market, right? Tesla stock is, in my opinion, the most important vibe setter for the entire stock market. When people are feeling great, want to take risk, Tesla stock is booming, right? When people start getting scared, worried, oh boy, I don't know how things are looking here, Tesla stock's not doing very well, right? And Tesla really leads the vibes. enphase is that next layer lower that is also a very strong vibe setter for the market. enphase is very I want to take risk, I want to go risk on. enphase is a stock. People start getting concerned, pulling back. Guess what? enphase drops. And I mean, look at these drops. And tomorrow it's going to be way worse. I can tell you, Tesla's probably getting hit tomorrow because of this move in the solar stocks, okay? So in regards to Tesla, 26% down. It's probably going to be down as much as 27, 28% after tomorrow, right? Maybe more. We'll see. enphase was down 38%. As of tomorrow, it's going to be down 50+%. And that's on a 3-month basis. A 3-month basis we're looking at, okay? So this is very hurtful to the overall stock market. And so that's just something important to kind of keep in mind here, okay? Let's talk about Tesla. And then we'll talk about PayPal, Palantir, a bunch of other stocks in this video, as well as some opportunities I see and things like that, okay? So Tesla, obviously, all of us shareholders got absolutely slapped today, okay? Absolutely slapped. I mean, this stock was, got hit the way it got hit. And this was after yesterday it got hit already. Yesterday, the stock was down, 4 or 5% yesterday. So just brutal for us Tesla shareholders to go through this, right? I was able to save some face, but the one thing I'll say is I probably should have bought 4 or 5 contracts for Tesla, or maybe bought 2 of these contracts and 2 further out of the money. That would have been, I don't think I probably hedged quite enough in regards to Tesla, but it is what it is. I saved a little face, okay? Now, something fascinating I see going on out there, and that's where a lot of the Tesla community is basically saying that conference call was a disaster. And that's what I called it on the live stream, on Twitch's live stream yesterday, right? It was very bad. And, I saw this out of Electric. Tesla tumbles after disastrous Elon Musk conference call, Electric calls it, right? They've obviously been pretty pro at Tesla over time, right? I reacted to Dan Ives' video here today on the reaction channel this morning. I also reacted to Gene Munster. Both of them had pretty poor things to say in regards to conference call, right? And so in regards to Tesla and the drop, it's more than just the numbers. It's also that conference call, right? Which, by the way, I called this whole situation. It's interesting, social media, right? It's very interesting. It always fascinates me because, if I get something wrong, there's always a million people like, oh, you're such an idiot, such a clown. Like, oh, you don't know anything. And then I was like, watch, I'm going to open up my YouTube comments today. I bet you not one person said like, oh, good call on that, or like, wow, you nailed it. Not one person, not one comment. But believe me, I get something wrong, even if it was like from years ago, there's a million people out there to kill me. Now, in regards, but that's social media, man. You got to take it for what it is. It is what it is, right? You guys know it. You make a Facebook post or a Twitter post, and you're always going to have that one person who says something nasty. But believe me, there's a lot more people out there that love it. That's social media, okay? Now, in regards to Tesla, or the problem's going to be fixed here, okay? Here's the issue. And if you're wondering, is Tesla stock a buy or not? Here's the issue. This is not going away short term, okay? In terms of what people are paying for interest on auto loans, it's not going away. It's not going away, okay? And if anything, there's a potential that credit, in terms of car loan rates, it could go a little higher before it goes lower, okay? So that's a little something to be worried about. Also, there's a little bit of credit contracting going on right now, which means the person that used to be able to afford that vehicle, or not just afford, but be able to get that, let's call it car loan, it's more of a struggle now, okay? And if the credit environment tightens more, which the Fed's out there right now doing quantitative tightening, if things continue to tighten more and more and more, it could lead to a situation where it's even harder to get auto loan, and harder and harder and harder. Ask somebody, how hard it was to get an auto loan in 2008, 2009, 2010. It began to get very difficult to even get a loan, okay? So this is something to kind of keep in mind there, right? And remember, if people's credit scores get hurt because they've been hit by inflation, they didn't pay this bill or that bill, all of a sudden your credit score goes down, which means the interest you have to pay goes up substantially, or you don't even have that option to buy that vehicle, right? So that's not going away, right? Now, recently, real wages have started to tick up a little bit. And so we got out of this horrible situation we were in for a long time where real wages just kept going down and down and down. Tesla needs real wages to pick up substantially in 2024. How can real wages pick up substantially in 2024? If inflation is in a lower environment, let's not even say 2%, let's just say 3%, but let's say people from their jobs on average are making 4%, 5%, 6%, 7% more, then you're in a positive real wage environment, and that could definitely help us out tremendously, okay? So that's something we need to have happen, and that would be great for Tesla overall. Don't hold your breath on it, but it is a realistic potential, okay? Now, we do have something pretty exciting coming, okay? Cybertruck. Now, obviously, Elon Musk dropped the bombshell last night and basically said this is going to hurt our margins for quite some time. Basically what he said, right? So that's not good. But I can tell you, Cybertruck getting out there on the road is going to be huge levels of interest. The amount of social media posts are going to be when people are seeing their first Cybertrucks in person. It's going to be off the freaking charts. More so than any vehicle, certainly in history. And in the social media age, do you know the amount of TikTok videos and people that are going to be putting them on their Instagram stories and on X, formerly known as Twitter, and all these different places? Like, it's going to be like nothing you've ever seen. You're going to see so many Cybertrucks on social media over this next year. It's going to be ridiculous. Ridiculous, okay? Every freaking influencer is going to be doing videos with their Cybertruck as they get them over the next year. And what is their opinion on the Cybertruck? Do they like it? It's going to be everywhere. The amount of buzz that will get around Tesla is going to be huge. And so that will be a huge benefit to Tesla, although the whole margin story and those sorts of things, and Tesla has a lot of work to do in terms of getting that to, let's call it big production. It's a process, right? Now, if you ask me, when will margins start flying higher? We know Tesla's margins has been sinking more and more and more and more and more. It sounds like they're going to get worse before they get better, based upon what I heard on the conference call. So when will Tesla margins start flying higher? My personal opinion is Tesla margins will start flying higher in the second half of 2024. In the second half of 2024. Why do I believe that? Well, by that time, there will be no more price cuts. If anything, I think there could actually be a potential where Tesla could start raising prices again on Model 3 and Model Y in the back half of 2024. Second, by the second half of 2024, they'll have worked out most of the kinks in regards to Cybertruck. Most of the things that were hurting margins will go away from the company. They'll have the vehicle fully ramped. And I do believe Cybertruck's going to be extremely helpful to Tesla's margins. Not in the first few quarters of production. We know that's going to be a hurt, but I do believe in the second half, you will see Tesla's margins start to improve quite dramatically. And remember, they're also going to be coming off of some pretty low levels over the next few quarters here, right? And so when I look at it from that perspective, I think, and also the buzz around Tesla and how many more people are going to be talking about Tesla in 2024, I think if you look at all those different various factors, I think it's going to bode very well for Tesla. And Tesla's also always figuring out how to strip out ways of, getting cost out of the vehicles and things like that. So Tesla, if you know Tesla very well, they never, ever just, are content with where they're at. They're always trying to figure out how to make this better, how to process this better, how to bring it down cost here, and things like that, okay? So that's my opinion. Margins will start flying back higher in the second half of 2024, okay? Now, next question is, what do I believe the chances are the stock goes under $200, under $150, or the price that everybody was, well, I don't say everybody, but a lot of people were predicting the stock was going to $50, $60 this year, okay? So what are the chances? I think there's about an 85% probability, as I spoke about, a day ago or a couple days ago. I think there's about an 85% chance the stock goes under $200. So very high probability that we're going under there somewhat soon, whether it be in the next few weeks or next few months. The chance of under 150, I would call it about a 50-50 right now. I think we're about a 50-50 in regards to this. Yeah, I think if we're going to go under 150, it's going to be because the market also starts to get hit big time. When I say the market, I'm really talking about the S&P, but really talking about the Qs. That's the only way we're going to go under 150, in my opinion. Tesla's not going to get to under 150, in my opinion, without the Qs getting hit hard as well. So if you were to get the Qs to get hit hard and all this negativity around Tesla short term, you could push this baby under 150. Now, what are the chances I think it's going back, going to $50 to $60 like a lot of people were predicting this year? I would say like less than a 5% probability. Less than a 5% probability. There's always a chance of things in the market, but I call this extremely, extremely low probability, okay? Now, what do I think is a good buying price for Tesla stock overall as a long-term investor? What do I think about 300, 250, 200, 150, 100, okay? So, and remember, this is as of buying Tesla stock right now, okay? Obviously, a lot can change over the next 2-3 years, whatever, okay? If I'm looking at Tesla stock today, I don't think Tesla's a very, very good buy at $300 unless I'm looking super, super far out, okay? Tesla has a lot of headwinds to deal with here over this next year, and I mean a lot of headwinds, and a lot of it's out of their controls. Tesla can't control the economy. Tesla can't control real wages. Tesla can't control the Fed and if they're going to raise even more and if interest rates are going to go even higher. They can't control any of that. So the things that are hurting Tesla is out of their control right now. The only thing that will be in their control is Cybertruck. But there's too many other events that are basically out of their control right now. 250, I don't really like 250 either, to be honest. Now, 200 is where we get interesting. I think 200 is a decent buy level for Tesla right now in this given environment, right? And knowing what we have to deal with over this next year, but also looking at it from the long-term perspective, I really like 150. If you can get the stock under 150, I really like 150 a lot, folks. I mean, a lot. And if you can get the stock around $100, which is where I was buying the stock at the end of last year and certainly beginning of this year, then you're looking great, okay? That's just an extremely easy buy as a long-term investor to throw in the filing cabinet and call it a day. But do keep in mind, it's going to be really tough for us to hit back down to $100 outside of a complete crash in the stock market. So don't get your hopes up too much about 150. 200, potential. 150, potential. 100, very, very difficult potential in regards to that. Enphase has obviously been clobbered as well. The stock's down nearly 60% just in the past 12 months, right? And it's under $100 a share here today. This one got hit 14.6% just on the back of the Solar Edge news. Now, if you want to know some good news in regards to Enphase, from my understanding, Enphase does not have as much exposure to Europe. Now, why does that matter? That matters because Solar Edge, basically part of the reason why they missed so bad was because of the European market. So it is a potential, and Solar Edge does report earnings this week, it is a potential that Enphase reports a quarter, when they report, I believe it's Thursday after the bell, they could actually report a quarter that's not as bad as feared, which would actually support Enphase's stock, obviously, after earnings, okay? But even in regards to Enphase, with how bad Solar Edge's numbers were, the fact is, folks, we don't know what Enphase's true forward P is, or anywhere even remotely close. You can't even guesstimate the numbers right now because it's such an industry in disarray. So until we get the Enphase numbers, we don't really know how to predict out Solar Edge or Enphase, just to be quite honest, okay? Now, in regards to earnings this week, we got a lot of important earnings, obviously, this week, right? Huge week coming up here. Mr. Softy, Google McDougal, Visa, Meta, Amazon. Meta and Amazon, okay? We'll get into those in just a moment. In my feelings on that, Meta is the biggest position I have in the public count. And now since Tesla's gone down a lot here recently, Meta's by far and away the biggest position. So I'll let you know how I'm feeling about Meta and Amazon. I went into Tesla earnings very unconfident. As you guys know, I was very well aware of that, right? Am I going into Meta and Amazon earnings very unconfident as well? Now, Tesla. What do I think the stock's going to bottom at? Do I think it's bottoming soon? Okay. So, I think Tesla probably short-term bottoms Monday, Tuesday. That would be my guess in regards to this. There's usually a 3-day rule in the market, right? Which is essentially a thought process around after a stock, it's a huge flush down after their earnings. You usually bottoms about 3 to 4 days later, okay? And so naturally the stock should bottom Monday, Tuesday, and then you can start to have some buying pressure. Especially, we should climb back at end of the week if Meta comes in, reports great earnings, Amazon comes in, reports great earnings, because that's obviously going to push the Qs. That would push the S&P 500. Both the Qs and the S&P 500 matter to Tesla. That could push ETFs. That could push a bunch of things, and it would all benefit Tesla. And so you could end up in a very nice end-of-week rally, if not end-of-month rally for good old Tesla. But ultimately, I wouldn't be surprised if Tesla does go down in November and December. We have the Cybertruck event at the end of November. I don't think that's going to bring necessarily any extra excitement. Everybody knows Cybertruck's coming. We're all excited for it. I don't think that adds anything extra that like everybody's going to jump to the moon for. So my opinion is Tesla's true bottom. Worst case scenario, probably 140. I see. Best case scenario, probably 190. For the end of this year.